The Little Mermaid with Aunt Sherry Ann.
Far beneath the ocean waves, in the land of the merpeople, lived a lovely young mermaid named Ariel. Her home was an undersea palace. Although it was quite magnificent, she hardly ever spent time there. She preferred to go exploring with her little friend Flounder the fish. Ariel loved to collect objects from the world above the sea. She and Flounder would swim in and out of sunken ships, picking up whatever caught the little mermaid's fancy. Ariel's father, King Triton, ruled the undersea kingdom. He was very proud of Ariel's many gifts, especially her beautiful singing voice. He had arranged to give a special concert to show his daughter's wonderful talent to all the merfolk. Ariel's sister sang to begin the concert. Then they sang a special song to introduce Ariel. But Ariel wasn't there. Triton was not pleased. How could Ariel have forgotten to show up for her own debut? As usual, Ariel was off exploring. She had found a sunken ship to play in and had forgotten all about the concert. By the time she returned home, the guests had left. Triton was so angry that he ordered Sebastian, a crab who was his court composer, to follow Ariel and to keep her out of trouble. Later that day, Ariel slipped away again, with Sebastian following close behind. She hadn't gone far when a huge shadow darkened the waters above.
"It's a ship,"
she gasped with delight. Ariel swam to the surface to get a closer look. There were humans on board. One of them was very handsome. Ariel heard the others call him Prince Eric. But as Ariel watched, a sudden storm took them all by surprise. To her horror, the ship began to sink. Most of the people on board were able to climb safely into a lifeboat, but the handsome young prince was hit by a falling spar and thrown into the churning water. Ariel knew that humans could not live under the sea. She had to save the unconscious prince. There was no time to lose. She darted through the waves toward the prince, as her friend Scuttle watched anxiously. Using all her strength, Ariel dragged the young prince to shore. Scuttle was waiting for them. The silly bird put his ear close to Eric's boot.
"Sorry, Ariel. I can't make out a heartbeat,"
said Scuttle. Ariel placed her hand on the prince's chest.
"Oh, he is breathing, Scuttle,"
she cried. She was so happy that she began to sing to the prince. At the sound of Ariel's lovely voice, Eric's eyelids began to flutter.
"He's going to be all right.
Ariel said, gratefully.
Now I better go back before Father finds out I've left."
When the prince opened his eyes, all he saw was his faithful dog, Max, running toward him. Ariel returned home, but she couldn't forget the human prince. As she sat thinking about him, two evil eels named Flotsam and Jetsam watched her with their cunning eyes.
"Come with us.
They coaxed sweetly.
We know someone who can help you."
Ariel followed the slippery eels. Before she knew it, she was inside the deep, dark cave of Ursula, the sea witch. Ursula knew how much Ariel missed Eric. She told the young mermaid that she could help her visit him for a price.
"I will make you human so you can visit your young man,"
Ursula said.
"but you must get him to fall in love and kiss you before the sun sets on the third day. If you fail, you will turn back into a mermaid and return to the sea as my slave."
Then Ursula laughed wickedly.
"Oh, and one other thing. You must leave your voice with me."
Poor Ariel. She would have done anything to see the young prince again. So she signed the agreement. Then the evil witch locked Ariel's beautiful voice inside a magic seashell that she wore around her neck. Flounder and Sebastian watched in amazement as Ursula's magic powers changed Ariel into a human girl. Suddenly, Ariel could no longer live underwater. Luckily, her two friends rushed her up to the surface so she could breathe. Ursula cackled with glee. She intended to make sure Ariel did not get her kiss. Once Ariel was safe on the beach, Scuttle said,
"There's something different about you, Ariel. I just can't put my foot on it."
Ariel showed him her two legs. She wanted to tell Scuttle about what had happened to her, but since Ursula had taken her voice, Sebastian had to explain. When Ariel tried to stand, she found that balancing on her new legs was harder than it looked,
You can do it.
said Scuttle.
Just watch me.
Sebastian shook his head in disbelief.
How am I going to tell the king about this?
He wondered. Meanwhile, Eric had not forgotten about the girl who had saved his life. Although he hadn't seen her, he had fallen in love with her wonderful voice. Eric would have given his entire kingdom to find her. Then, as he was walking with Max, he saw Ariel on the beach.
Have we met before?
Eric asked, his heart skipping a beat. But his hopes were soon dashed when he found that Ariel could not speak. She can't be the one, he thought. Still, the prince felt sorry for Ariel, so he brought her to his castle. His servants fed her and gave her pretty clothes to wear. The next day, the prince took Ariel for a coach ride through his kingdom.
She's so lovely.
Eric said to himself.
If only she was the girl I've been searching for.
The next day, the prince took Ariel for a boat ride.
There isn't much time.
Thought Ariel.
If he doesn't kiss me soon, I will become Ursula's slave.
Although Ariel didn't know it, the prince was falling in love and was just about to kiss her. But Flotsam and Jetsam had been watching them. They tipped the boat over and sent the young couple tumbling into the water before Ariel could get her kiss. Ursula had been watching the couple in her magic bubble. She decided to trick Eric so Ariel would never get her kiss. The witch transformed herself into a beautiful girl. With Ariel's voice locked inside the seashell necklace, Ursula would sound just like Eric's true love. The following day, as Ursula walked along the beach, the sounds of Ariel's beautiful voice filled the air. Eric could hardly believe his ears. The girl who had saved his life had finally come back to him. Quickly, the sea witch put a spell on Eric, and he decided to marry her right away. Ursula's nasty trick had worked. She and Eric were to be married on his ship that very day. In her cabin, Ursula laughed as she looked at her true reflection in the mirror. Luckily, Scuttle saw Ursula's real reflection too. Scuttle and Flounder rushed off to find Ariel and tell her all about the sea witch's latest trick.
Don't worry, Ariel. We'll help you,
said Scuttle, as Flounder pulled her out to the ship. Then Scuttle flew to the ship. With the help of sea lions, pelicans, and other birds, Scuttle stopped the wedding. As Ariel climbed over the railing, the birds tore at Ursula's clothing and pulled her hair. The seashell fell from Ursula's neck. When it broke, Ariel's voice returned to her instantly, and Ariel called out a warning to the prince. Then Eric knew he had been tricked, but time had run out. The sun had started to set, and Ariel was already turning back into a mermaid.
You belong to me now!
Gloated Ursula, who had turned back into her mean, ugly self again. She grabbed Ariel and slithered into the sea. But Eric was not about to let Ariel slip away this time. Grabbing a harpoon, he dived into the sea and hurled it at the sea witch. That made Ursula angrier than ever. She transformed herself into a huge monster and tried to crush poor Ariel and the prince with her black tentacles. Eric clutched the Little Mermaid to him, trying to protect her from the witch's fury. Eric knew that he had to do something, and fast. Climbing aboard a ship that Ursula's angry thrashing had raised from the bottom of the sea, he grabbed the wheel. He aimed the ship's prow at Ursula and sailed full speed ahead. As the boat struck the witch, she let out a terrible scream. Then she was gone forever. Everyone was glad the sea witch was gone, but Ariel was still unhappy. Even Triton could see that his daughter was truly in love. So using his magic powers, he granted Ariel her dearest wish. He made her human again. Triton watched as Eric and Ariel walked toward the castle.
I'm going to miss her,
King Triton said to Sebastian.
but I know they'll be happy.
Soon after that, Eric and Ariel were married in a splendid shipboard wedding with all the merpeople looking on. And just as King Triton had predicted, they lived happily ever after. The end. I'm Aunt Sherry Ann, and I'm the storyteller.
Hi, I'm Brooke, and I'm Ariel. Hi, I'm Jason, and I'm Alec.
I'm Josh, and I'm Scuttle.
Hi, I'm Kylie. I'm Jetsam.
Hi,
Hi, I'm Lindsay, and I'm Jetsam.
I don't think so.
I'm Jetsam.
My mother distinctly told me that I was Jetsam.
No, you want to go?
You want to go? Bring it,
I'm
bring it.
Jetsam.
Jetsam,
Flax, let's go. Right there.
I'm Aunt Jenny. And I'm Ursula.
Hi, I'm Grandpa Thornell.
Hi, I'm Uncle Colin.
I'm Aunt Helen.
And we are the backup singers. Just you and me.
Hi, I'm Uncle Jeff, and I'm Sebastian. Okay, everybody dance now. The seaweed is always greener in somebody else's lake. You dream about going up there, but that is a big mistake. Just look at the world around you, right here on the ocean floor. Such wonderful things surround you. What more is you looking for? Under the sea, under the sea. Darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me. Up on the shore they work all day, out in the sun they slave away, while we're devoting full time to floating under the sea. Ha ha! Down here all the fish is happy, as after the waves they roll. The fish on the land ain't happy, they sad 'cause they in the bowl. But fish in the bowl is lucky, they in for a worse fate. One day when the boss get hungry, guess who's gonna be on the plate? Under the sea, under the sea. Nobody beat us, fry us and eat us in fricassee. We what the land folks love to cook, under the sea we off the hook. We've got no troubles, life is the bubbles under the sea.
Under the sea,
Under the sea,
under the sea,
since life is sweet here, we got the beat here naturally.
naturally.
Even the sturgeon and the ray, they get the urge and start to play. We got the spirit, you've got to hear it under the sea.
Peter Pan with Aunt Jenny.
Wendy Darling and her brothers John and little Michael were restless. It was almost their bedtime, but they weren't sleepy at all.
What shall we play?
Asked John with a sigh.
I'm tired of our old games.
Well,
Said Wendy.
I could tell you a story about Peter Pan.
Hooray!
Shouted Michael and John. So Wendy told them about Peter Pan and the pirates. Wendy knew lots of stories about Peter Pan. Peter was a magical boy who lived in Neverland with his friends, the Lost Boys, and a pixie named Tinkerbell. In Wendy's stories, Peter and his friends had lots of exciting adventures. After Wendy had finished this story, John and Michael pretended to be pirates.
Take that!
Shouted John as he waved his toy sword. Just then the children heard a voice just outside their window.
It must be around here somewhere.
The voice said. The children looked out. It was Peter Pan. Peter flew by the nursery window often. He loved Wendy's stories, especially since they were all about him. But the last time he had visited the nursery, he had left something behind.
Have you seen my shadow?
Peter asked.
Oh, Peter.
Said Wendy with a chuckle.
Here's your shadow. Sit down and I'll sew it back on.
While Wendy sewed Peter's shadow back on, her brothers asked Peter about Neverland.
Neverland.
Said Peter with a laugh.
It's a wonderful place. I'll take you there.
He offered.
Once we're there, Wendy, you can tell the Lost Boys your stories, and John and Michael can help us fight pirates.
But how can we get there?
Wendy asked.
That's easy. All you have to do is fly. Just think happy thoughts.
Peter told them. The children thought their happiest thoughts, but they still couldn't fly.
We won't be able to go with you,
said a disappointed Wendy. Peter was puzzled for a moment, but then he laughed.
I forgot the pixie dust,
he said. He sprinkled some of Tinkerbell's magic dust on the children. In no time, they were all flying through the air on their way to Neverland. Before the children knew it, they had reached Neverland. Wendy sighed and said,
Oh, Peter, it's just as I dreamed it would be.
Suddenly they heard a mighty boom, and a cannonball zoomed past them. It had come from the pirate ship below, which belonged to Captain Hook, Peter's enemy. The captain had lost his left hand fighting with Peter, and a hungry crocodile had swallowed it. Now Captain Hook spent all his time trying to catch Peter Pan.
Don't be scared.
Said Peter.
We can outfly him easily.
Peter brought Wendy and her brother to his home. He lived in a secret underground hideout with the Lost Boys and Tinker Bell. The Lost Boys were waiting outside to welcome Peter Pan and his new friends. They were happy to hear that Wendy was going to tell them stories. But Tinker Bell was unhappy. She thought Peter Pan liked his new friends better than he liked her. So she was especially jealous of Wendy. So while Peter showed Wendy, John, and Michael his secret hideout, Tinker Bell flew away. Later, the Lost Boys offered to take Michael and John on a tour of Neverland.
Oh boy!
Said Michael as they marched through the jungle.
I bet we'll have a lot of exciting adventures here.
As the boys followed John through the jungle, none of them noticed all the mysterious eyes that watched them from behind the bushes and trees. Meanwhile, Peter was giving Wendy her own tour of Neverland. As they flew, Peter suddenly noticed Captain Hook and his first mate, Mr. Smee, in a small boat. They were heading for Skull Rock, and they were not alone. They had captured Princess Tiger Lily. Peter Pan and Wendy flew closer.
If you don't tell us where Peter Pan's secret hideout is, we will leave you here. Arrgh.
Captain Hook said to Tiger Lily. But Tiger Lily refused even to look at Captain Hook. At once, Peter flew down to rescue Tiger Lily.
Stop what you're doing, Hook, or you'll have to answer to me,
Peter shouted. Captain Hook and Peter began fighting, but Peter was much too quick for the captain. In the water nearby, a hungry crocodile watched as Peter and Hook fought. It was the same crocodile that had once swallowed Hook's hand. The crocodile had liked the taste so much that he always followed Hook around, hoping to get another bite. Hook was no match for Peter, and soon he fell into the water. The crocodile had been waiting for this chance. Hook, however, was determined to escape its gaping jaws.
Smee!
He shouted.
Save me! I'm coming, Captain! I'm coming, hold on!
Smee shouted as he rowed swiftly toward Hook. While Smee rescued Hook from the crocodile, Peter quickly untied Tiger Lily. Then Peter flew away carrying Tiger Lily in his arms. Wendy followed them to the Indian village. The chief was very happy to get his daughter back. He released all the boys at once. Then he gave orders for a big celebration. Everyone sang and danced and had a wonderful time. After the party, Peter, Wendy, and all the boys went to a hideout. Tinker Bell hadn't gone to the party. She was still jealous of Wendy, and when everyone returned, Tinker Bell flew off by herself. She was so angry she didn't notice someone watching her. Suddenly, the little pixie found herself trapped in a pirate's cap. Smee hurried back to the ship with Tinker Bell. Once aboard the ship, Smee released Tinker Bell.
Welcome aboard, Miss Tinkerbell,
said Captain Hook.
I am sure you have noticed,
he continued,
that things have gone from bad to worse on this island since that girl Wendy arrived. Tomorrow, I'll be leaving the island forever. I'll take Wendy to sea with me if you tell me where I can find her. Arrgh.
All Tinker Bell wanted was to get rid of Wendy. On the map, she showed Hook where the hideout was. She didn't know Hook was really after Peter Pan.
You've been most helpful,
sneered Hook.
Now I have Peter Pan where I want him. Arrgh.
Hook locked Tinker Bell in a lantern and ordered his men to surround Peter's hideout. Meanwhile, Wendy and her brothers had decided it was time to go home. The Lost Boys wanted to join them, but Peter didn't want to leave Neverland, so he stayed behind in the hideout and never saw the pirates capture Wendy and the boys as they left. The pirates took Wendy and the boys to the ship. They tied the frightened children to the big mast.
I'll give you a choice,
said Hook.
Become pirates or walk the plank.
When Tinker Bell had heard Hook's plan, she knew she had to warn Peter. She was finally able to break the glass in the lantern and escape. Then she quickly flew back to the hideout. Excitedly, she told Peter that he had to save Wendy and the boys. Back on the pirate ship, Captain Hook was demanding an answer.
What will it be?
Said Hook.
A pirate's life or the plank?
I'm sure Peter will rescue us,
Wendy whispered to the boys. Then bravely, she said to Captain Hook,
We will never become pirates. We will die first.
And she walked onto the plank and jumped off. Everyone waited for the splash, but the splash never came. Peter Pan arrived just in time to catch Wendy as she fell.
Oh, Peter, I knew you would come,
Wendy said happily. Peter took Wendy to a safe place, then he returned to fight Hook.
I'll get you this time, Peter Pan,
cried Captain Hook. The two began fighting while the children and the pirates watched. As always, Peter was much quicker and smarter than the captain. They fought all the way up to the ship's rigging. As Hook jabbed his sword at Peter, he lost his balance. Much to the delight of the hungry crocodile below, Hook fell into the sea with a big splash. Once the pirates saw that Peter had defeated their captain, they gave up the fight. They decided to follow Hook and abandon ship. It was difficult for the pirates to keep up with their captain, however. Hook was swimming very fast, trying to escape the hungry crocodile. Back on the ship, everyone cheered for Peter Pan. They were surprised to hear him give orders to cast off.
Where are we going?
Wendy asked him.
I'm taking you home,
Peter told her. At Peter Pan's command, Tinker Bell happily sprinkled the pirate ship with golden pixie dust to make it fly. Soon the children were back in the nursery. They knelt by their window and watched the magical ship sail off into the starry sky. As they waved goodbye, Wendy and her brothers knew they would never forget their adventures with Peter Pan. Hi, I'm Aunt Jenny, and I'm the storyteller.
I'm Uncle Brant, and I am Captain Hook, me hearties.
Hi, I'm Josie, and I'm Wendy. Hi, I'm Tinker Bell. Hey, I'm Jason, and I'm Michael.
Hi, I'm J-Day, and I'm John.
Hi, I'm Uncle Jeff, and I'm the Indian Chief.
Hi, I'm Uncle Colin, and Smee is me.
Hi, I'm Josh, and I'm Peter Pan. And I can fly, I can fly, I can fly, I can fly.